Welcome, Carduino owner. Here you will learn how to get the most out of your Carduino by taking advantage of its programmability aspect using the Arduino IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. Arduino is an open source platform for programming microcontrollers, and inside your Carduino there's a chip called the ATtiny which can be programmed using the Arduino platform. First thing you'll need to do is download and install the Arduino software from arduino.cc. You'll find it under the software tab, and there you'll find installers for the different operating systems: Mac, Windows, Linux. Choose the one for your operating system and follow the instructions. I won't repeat the instructions here, but you'll be able to find them in the documentation on the site. This is what the Arduino IDE looks like once you have it started. Next you will need a plugin that supports the ATtiny chips in your Carduino. That plugin is called megaTinyCore, and it doesn't come bundled with Arduino. You'll need to provide a URL to it in Arduino's preferences. So here I'm copying it from the megaTinyCore GitHub documentation. You'll find a URL to that in the documentation that accompanies this tutorial in the YouTube video description. And here I pasted into Arduino's preferences under additional board manager URLs. Then after that you go under Tools, Boards, Board Manager, and search for megaTinyCore. And then once you find it, you click on Install to install it. It takes about 5 minutes to install. I'll speed it up here so you don't have to wait that long. And then once it's complete, you should see a teal installed in the description there. Next, you'll need to install the library that we wrote specifically for Carduino. And to do that, you go under Tools, Manage Libraries, and in there you search for Carduino. There you should only find one. Make sure that it's authored by Pierre Boudreau, that's me. And once you find it, click Install. And this one's a lot quicker to install, so you should get the teal installed confirmation right away. And what that library gives you is the code that makes the Carduino run, and some examples of what you can do using that core code in the library. You can find those examples by going under Files, Examples, and then scroll way down to the bottom till you see Carduino. But here it's showing up as unsupported, and that is because we don't have the correct boards configured. So that's from the megaTinyCore boards library that we installed. So we'll need to set up the correct board and chip in there so that those show up as supported. So the correct board is the one that has ATtiny 804 in it, and then obviously the correct chip is the ATtiny 804. And then you also need the programmer set to UPDI, and I suggest you start with the slow one, and then once you have that working, you can switch to the faster one to get a bit faster upload. Then after those are selected, if we go back to our examples, we'll see that they are now supported and show up just under Examples Carduino. But before we can actually upload something to our Carduino, we need one more thing. We need communication with the Carduino from the computer. So to do that, we needed to have it communicating on a serial port, which we can see in the menu here. On my computer now, I have two serial ports called COM10 and COM11. You might see different numbers there, you might see nothing at all. My Carduino is not plugged in yet, so once I plug it in, it'll first be detected for the first time by Windows. If you're using older versions of Windows or other operating systems, you'll probably need to install drivers, and I'll provide a link to the drivers in the video description as well, and there's instructions there for installing those. But I won't cover that here. On the version of Windows that I'm using, it detects it automatically, so we can see it here now that it's plugged in, detecting the driver, or detecting that the device is there, and it's going to install drivers for it. And then after the drivers are installed, if we go back to view our ports in Arduino, we now see an additional port. On my computer it came up as COM4. It might be different for you, and it selects it automatically once it finds the new port. And that's it. We are now ready to compile and upload a sketch to Carduino. So now I'm using the teaser example, and I hit the arrow pointing to the right in the toolbar. I'll first compile the sketch like it's doing now, and then once it's done compiling, it'll upload it to the device, which is starting to do now. And I can see already it is going to fail. It took more than a couple of seconds to start the actual upload. So that can happen when you first plug it in and it first installs the driver. Windows doesn't sometimes recognize it right away. I just unplugged it and plugged it back in, and trying again now. Hopefully that will work. And I can see it does. I can see pinging the device. And you can see in the back of the Carduino there's little indicator lights that shows that it's reading and writing through the communication cable. And it is done now, and the sketch has been uploaded.